So for anyone who's still not convinced on the DoorDash incident, a very timely article just came out. An Oscar-winning costume designer, Jenny Beavan, says it's astonishing how often male actors fail to wear underwear to fittings. So what excuses are y'all gonna make for these men now? That they're drunk when they show up to costume fittings? They fell asleep without their underwear on. They didn't have time to put underwear on before leaving their house for a fitting. They didn't think that they would have to strip down for a costume fitting. Where are the excuses? Go ahead, put them in the comments. Because every woman has stories like this, stories that she never wanted to tell. She talks about this so casually when it is explicit. SASH whatever to come to costume fitting without a pair of underwear, so that a woman costume designer is forced to stand there and take your measurements while your cock is in her face. That's why they do it, ladies. This is what I mean by they use their peen as a weapon. That is what it is. It's supposed to intimidate you. It's supposed to threaten you. It's a form of violence against women. I can stand here naked and know that it makes you uncomfortable, and you couldn't do the same to me. And this is how men tend to claim their power, especially when they are around powerful women who have made their way into the same industry without having a pee-pee like them. Like, that just pisses them off. Before anybody tries to both sides this, she did not even mention women in the same breath as this, okay? This is not a problem that she and her department had with women. This was astonishing to her how often male actors did this, which to me can only mean one thing, that this was something involving power dynamics, this was something involving the male ego, and this was something involving misogyny. Why else would you subject somebody in a professional setting to having to take your measurements while your dick is out in their face? Like, that is absolutely unconscionable. I don't know of a single woman who would ever even dream of it. This is exhibitionism. Like, this is the same exact thing that happened to that young lady with her DoorDash order, with the man who placed that DoorDash order and then fell asleep with his pants around his ankles and the door slightly cracked, and everybody's making all these excuses. What excuses do you have for this? What? Like, seriously, the fact that she and her staff had to go out and buy underwear for these grown-ass men who showed up without any shame, just fucking commando. I really have no words, and I'm so glad that this article came out around the same time as this DoorDash situation and discourse. This is a huge problem. Men making women uncomfortable and making it those women's problem. Men viewing women as inferior and therefore subjecting them to uncomfortable, completely inappropriate situations. I saw this posted on Reddit and I ran to the comments. So let me read some of them to you, because the comment section was full of women proving this exact point. This is a widespread issue, okay? One woman says, as a woman who used to style men for a living, this doesn't surprise me one bit. It was always amazing to me how a man trying on a shirt would also feel the need to take off their pants before coming out to show me. The same was true about removing their shirt if they were trying on pants. This happened frequently, and with enough consistency, I would send them in with the other garment to try on, even if they didn't ask for it, just to keep them dressed. And another woman says under that same thread, yep, I used to work in a hospital doing ECGs, and you'd say, I just need a bare top half, please, and then give the patient a little privacy. Guaranteed half the men would be at best in their underwear when I went back in. I was 18 when I started and mortified by it. So these men were doing this to an 18-year-old. Weirdly, never happened to my male colleagues. Sometimes you could hear the belt being undone, so you try to swap patients with one of the men in the team, and you could hear the patient backtracking. So not only are they perverts, they're also cowards. It's always a misunderstanding when they know it's going to be a woman that's going to be subjected to their fucking misunderstanding. Another woman said, I said this in the other thread, but I used to be a wardrobe stylist in the 2000s through the 2010s. This was one of the reasons I finally quit. I couldn't take it anymore. Some of your favorite actors are fucking disgusting. Another woman said, I used to do medical consultations and multiple men tried taking their clothes off in the lobby. Another comment says, when I still worked in theater, my friend was a costumer's assistant and often helped with fittings. She said the same thing. Often the male actors would forget to wear underwear to fittings, and some would even try to use the opportunity to flirt with her. She was 16 through 20 years old during this period. They were often in their 30s to 50s. And this was shitty regional theater in Canada. Another woman says, as a costume designer, unfortunately, I can attest that this is true. It has happened more than once to me. Another woman says, working in healthcare, if male patients in a gown get up out of bed, they will almost always go out of their way to accidentally show you their junk. That's flashing. That's sexual harassment. You get the point. The comment section was full of women who experienced the same exact thing. This is a pattern. This is not an accident. This is a purposeful pattern that men get off on doing. There's a long history of men flashing women as a joke. Chris Pratt flashed Amy Poehler and Rashida Jones. They were filming a scene in which he was supposed to be fully naked, but they of course had him wear something to cover up his actual peen. He decided it'd be funny to improvise just being completely and fully naked. There was an episode on the show Punk'd in which Dax Shepard was just walking around the store completely naked while Jessica Alba was also shopping there, and people actually called her a bitch for not finding it funny. So just in case y'all are wondering, this is a fucking pattern. This is exactly what I'm talking about when I say, why are we not saying the fucking quiet part out fucking loud? I am so tired of this plausible deniability crap. Put your fucking peens away and nothing bad will happen to you. Like, how about we start holding men to the same standards as women? If he was dressed like that, then he was asking for it. Do something bad to them next time. I swear to God, deserve it because they were dressed like that. And people are going to say, read the article, read the article. They were sheepish about it. They were hiding behind chairs, etc. Because I'd be willing to bet that the only reason they were humiliated and like standing and hiding behind chairs and stuff like that is probably because she refused to take their measurements while they were nude and had their dicks out, and they would have to stand there presumably and wait until her staff had to carry the burden of their weird little pee-pee kinks and fetishes. That's why they were embarrassed. They were embarrassed that they were not being serviced in their birthday suit. They were embarrassed that somebody would put them on the spot like that. Really glad that she did that, but still the burden of this still fell on women, and that's part of it. You need to understand that that's part of it. Women's labor in having to prove themselves or having to protect themselves from their naked peens, like that's all part of it. It's all part of the exhibitionism, voyeurism, kink. That is not an excuse. That does not tell me that these men were actually embarrassed, that these men were actually like ashamed of themselves. They were just mad and wanted to now act sheepish when they were being put on the spot. You were going to be that embarrassed by the fact that you didn't wear underwear. You should have worn underwear. Otherwise, I don't feel bad for you. And also, I wouldn't be surprised if this woman had to downplay, once again, these men's vile behavior, because she would be the one facing backlash for, no pun intended, exposing them for the perverts that they really are. Make no mistake, they expose themselves, all right? So please stay safe out there. I love you. Godspeed.